So I've been asked to talk to you about the story of Naboth's vineyard. Now I've got some fabulous pictures for you that have been done by Emily Bauer. We'll see more of those in a minute. But as we join the story, Ahab is sad. Now the thing about Ahab is he's a bit of a sulker. So he's often sad. And today he's sulking because he's been told off by a prophet of God. And Ahab doesn't like being told off. Who does he think he is? Nasty man. Just because I made a deal with Ben-Hadad and let him go, I'm the king. I should be able to do whatever I want. I'm really, really cross, peeved, proper fed up. He spoiled everything now. How am I going to cheer myself up? I know. One thing cheers me up more than anything. I'm going to design a new garden. Oh, it's so exciting. Oh, bother. I've already designed all the palace gardens, so there's nothing left to do. I know, I'll expand. Now, if I could just get my hands on the vineyard next to my palace, it would make a perfect garden for my herbs and veggies. It won't be a problem. After all, I'm the king, and I should be allowed to do whatever I want. Servants! Chop, chop! We're off to get that vineyard. Get those legs moving! We've got places to be and vineyards to get. Now, the owner of the vineyard was a man called Naboth, and he was a godly man who tried hard to do what was right in God's eyes, even when it was difficult, even when it might get him in trouble, even when he might have to say no to somebody he really didn't want to say no to. Well, Ahab looked down on Naboth and made him an offer he thought he couldn't refuse. I'll either give you an even better vineyard or a big bag of gold. Ahab knew this was a certainty. He would get his vineyard. But Naboth knew that the land was given to his fathers by God. And he wasn't allowed to sell it just because he felt like it. No, it was his inheritance. He had to treasure it. He had to care for it. And above all, he had to obey God and couldn't just do whatever he wanted to do. So he said no, much to Ahab's surprise. Now Ahab goes home and he's very, very sad. It's just not fair. I want that vineyard. I should have that vineyard. After all, I'm the king. And I should be able to do whatever I want. Ahab goes to his room in a monster sulk. He went to bed. He turned his face to the wall and he stuck his bottom lip out further than you can possibly imagine. And he refused to eat anything, nothing at all. Not fair, not fair. I'm the king. I should be able to do whatever I want. Well, along comes Jezebel. What's the matter, my little Ahabby-wabbykins? I want Naboth's vineyard and he won't let me. I'm the king. Nasty Naboth. I want it. I want it. Oh, my sweet little Ahabby-wabbykins. You're the king. You should be able to do whatever you want. You eat your supper and I'll deal with it. In fact, I'll get it for you right away. Just you see. Pen! Paper! Right, you lot! I've got a job for you, and I don't care what the law says. You do as I say or else. I want you to call a fast and make sure Naboth is there on high for everyone to see. Pay 2 men to say that he cursed God and the king. Then drag that pesky man out of the city, stone him, and make sure he's dead, or you'll be next. Signed Ahab. I'm the real king around here. As long as I keep Ahabby-wabbykins busy, I can do whatever I like. Guards, take these letters to the elders now. I can do whatever I like and no one can stop me. I'm so clever. I'm so cunning. I'm unstoppable and no one will mess with me. And sadly, The elders and the nobles didn't challenge Jezebel. They didn't tell her she was wrong. They just did exactly what she said and more. For Naboth and all his sons were killed. And when the dirty deed was done, they sent her a message straight away to Jezebel to tell her it was done. And all this time, Ahab was getting his plants ready. He didn't think about Naboth. He didn't think about what God wanted. All he was interested in was being able to do and have whatever he wanted. After all, he thought, I'm the king, and I should be able to do whatever I want. Jezebel went straight to Ahab with the news. Ahabby Wabbykins, it's ready. What is? Didn't I promise you that I would deal with nasty Naboth? He's dead, his sons are dead, and the vineyard is all yours. All you need to do is go out and take it. After all, you're the king. You should be able to do whatever you want. Ahab is delighted. He says, oh, goody, goody, goody. I've got my garden. I've got my garden. Woohoo! I'm off. Soon Ahab was walking around the garden, super excited. Oh, I'm going to plant my beans over here, my carrots there, my herbs there. Oh, I can just picture it. It's going to be so beautiful. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Ahab, what have you done? Ahab said, oh, my enemy, who let you into my garden? The prophet Elijah had arrived. Have you killed Naboth so you can take his vineyard? Me? I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. I'm innocent. It wasn't me. Ahab, you know very well what Jezebel was going to do, even though you pretend not to. Never did anyone sell themselves to work evil in God's eyes quite like you. The things you allow Jezebel to do in your name have shocked even me. You will die, so will she. So will your family, just like Naboth. In fact, in the very spot where the dogs licked the blood of Naboth, they will do the same with yours, and the dogs will gobble Jezebel up for what she has done. God sent us into the land to destroy the Amorites and their idols, and you've married an Amorite and worship her idols. What do you think you are doing? God is so angry with you that you, Jezebel, and every single member of your family will die. And everyone in your family who dies will be gobbled up by the dogs of the city or the birds of the fields. And Ahab, who never, ever liked being told off, who never, ever liked being told what to do, who never, ever liked being told he was wrong, did something that would have shocked anyone who knew him. He actually listened carefully. He ripped his clothes and he put on an old sack and quietly went off to bed, truly sorry for what he had let happen. God saw that Ahab was sorry, so he decided that although he had to deal with Ahab and Jezebel and their terrible family once and for all, he would punish the rest of the family after Ahab died, so he wouldn't have to see it happen. Sometime later, Ahab died in battle in his chariot, and after he was buried, someone washed the blood from his chariot in the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked it all up, just like Elijah had said. More than that, sometime after Ahab's death, Jezebel was thrown from her window and died. But when they came down to bury her, the dogs had already gobbled her up, just like Elijah said. All, that is, except for her head, her feet, and the palms of her hands, because her head, her feet, and her hands had thought and done such wicked things. They were too dirty, too stinky, too smelly for even the dogs to eat. You know, one day soon, Jesus will return, and Naboth will be raised from the dead. Now, Naboth was a faithful man who knew that all that he had came from God. He held on to his inheritance and the promises of God, and Jesus will soon reward him for his faithfulness. But people today, rather like Ahab and Jezebel, seem to think they should be allowed to do whatever they want. All the time we hear people saying, I should be allowed to do whatever I want. But it's not true. If we are selfish and wicked and concentrate only on doing whatever we want, not only will we suffer for it in the end, because only God truly knows what's best for us, we will lose our inheritance. We will lose the promises of God, and we will lose the kingdom. So the kingdom will soon be here. Let's always remember to make sure we're busy getting ready for it, listening to God and doing what he wants us to do. So that's the end of our story for this evening. And let's always remember that whilst there's loads of people out there in the world thinking we should be allowed to do whatever we want, they're going to be the sad ones. They're going to be the sorry ones. And we know the kingdom is coming, and we need to listen to God so we can be there with Naboth for the promises that are yet to come. So there we are. That's something to think about. A bit of a gruesome bedtime story.